Let's do it.
Okay, we are live. Welcome to Elevate Today podcast. Today, I'm actually with my best friend's twin brother, and after knowing him, he's just one of the fascinatingest persons ever. I'd say you're one of the people where your third eye is just open. You're always in a deep conversation, in a deep thought process, and I've learned more about you through Annie and just like being around your family. And so I was like, dang, let's do it. And you were so much more down to start a podcast before Annie was. I thought that was interesting.
Had to call her out.
Yeah, I'm like, let's do it. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Purneet Pabla. Like she said, I'm Annie's twin brother. I'm currently in school for economics, and I just like to think and talk about interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's so true. So that's one thing I wanted to start off talking about is the Punjabi culture.
Okay.
Pretty much just learning from Annie and just her life stories. You guys being Punjabi is really set apart from the American lifestyle, the American way. Even from going to school with all these lunches, different lunches, that your mom's packed and stuff like that. So what has your experience been from your observation comparing different cultures? Because you guys are very rich in culture, but you're also so balanced in your American way.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult because you grow up that way. You want to fully embody it at all times because that's what feels right. But say when you go to school or when you're with friends, you're worried about judgment from them. Because American culture, we're in America, so that culture is the dominant one, or at least portrayed as. So it's difficult. It's you get embarrassed a lot, I'd say, and even if it's most of the time it's not even fair to be embarrassed, but obviously embarrassment comes from within, regardless of mostly from your insecurities, I'd say. So I guess you develop this insecurity of not feeling fully integrated into American culture. But even though you feel like you are, and you feel like you're integrated into Punjabi culture, but you want both.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get both because family doesn't really, there's a line. So family doesn't really cross over a lot. And friends, very few friends cross over to where you can fully be comfortable with them. I've had a few, thankfully, but most of my friends I wouldn't invite to my house. We just go out, and when I get the 10 p.m. phone calls come home right now.
Yeah.
They'd be what the heck, they need to chill. I'm that's just how it is. Definitely the sense of the family's a unit. Right? In America, it's kind of individuals. The family is comprised of individuals.
Yeah.
And in Punjabi culture, it's you're one unit. And, that's fair. There's so many people in India. A lot of them are in poverty. So not everyone can just be doing their own thing. If you're born into a family, you're most likely going to carry on what they do. Yeah. So, yeah, it is difficult. I feel as you get older, you start to, well, it depends on you, obviously, but you start to wean out, the factors of people that are causing you to, have this, separation.
Yeah.
And, you, as an adult, you have to work on creating a balance with things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, for minorities and Punjabis, that's a little bit harder because of that divide, but it's just something you have to deal with, I guess,
Yeah. Do you want to maintain a lot of the cultural habits when you have your own family?
See, I don't know. I think about that sometimes because I would want to preserve the culture because that is still my culture. But then looking back at when I was growing up, I didn't like a lot of those things,
Yeah.
It's shoot. But I think I take out my emotions from the past when it comes to those things. At least for certain things. Some of them, I feel I think a portrayal is a big part of it. How they're portrayed to you. Say for my family, the culture and religion that was portrayed to us, it wasn't done in a way to really get us into it. It was more putting it on us, so we kind of rejected it because of that. But if you make it interesting and fun to do, especially at the start, then they'll want to they want to keep it up themselves instead of having to force them, which is a lot more powerful.
Yeah, and I feel like you really have the option to go either way. Like, you can have a family and raise them super Americanized, like no cultural habits, or go all extreme Punjabi, but you get to really play with the balance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Are you gonna want your kids to have an arranged marriage?
If they want, for arranged marriage, I feel like so in India, arranged marriages were done. A lot of them were like financial decisions, right? Because everyone is in poverty. There's like certain families that have a bit more. People in the village would want to get married into one of those families because there's a dowry and all that, the connection. Here, arranged marriages still happen. I think it's more. It also is as any marriage, there's a financial like factor to it, but it's more like out of the tradition of it than like actually needing a necessary the necessity of it. Because I feel like, I don't know, like cities are a lot bigger than these little villages, you know, like
that's
you
so
have
true.
options. But,
yeah, okay, so there's arranged marriage, but there's also staying within the Punjabi culture. So I feel like, so you're not doing an arranged one. None of your siblings are.
Yeah, I feel like people who do get arranged marriages, sorry to add this, like I feel like a lot of them have kind of like, they chose like the family route versus like, you know, that line, they chose one side of it,
American
the family
line or Punjabi
and then
line.
like the family kind of like, it's a lot of like keeping them like stuck in it. Like the family will like try to keep them stuck in it and not let, you know, like get them deeper and deeper to where they can control their lives pretty much. Because it is like all about like control, like how your kids are seen in like America versus like, I'd say like a lot of other countries. It's like parents feel more ownership over their children than like traditional American parents do.
It's like weird because as much as it's good to have that balance, it seems like the cultured way is the winning way right now. Because you're right, like the American style, it's all individual. You go through life, you grow up, and as soon as you're 18, you like figure it out on your own. Like tough love, good luck. I hope you can do it. But from my awareness in the Punjabi culture, it's like, you know, you grow up very close, kind of strict, a lot of rules, do's and don'ts. And then you go to college and your parents really like support you during that journey and but take your, like, make sure you're studying, make sure you're getting good grades, like during that college season. And they're kind of like sticking by that journey until you have a job that can really take care of you. Yeah. And when I see that, I'm like, that's exactly the purpose of college, to set you up for a good career, which it seems like the parents are very involved in doing. Yeah. But then again, that can still be controlling because you could feel like you don't have your freedom.
Exactly. Yeah, college is a huge like thing, probably for a lot of minorities, for Punjabis too. Because like you are like, say for me, like my parents were very controlling in high school. Like obviously as the years went on, they got a little bit less because we like rebel a bit. Then it'd be like this like, you know, kind of like chaos for a bit, and then they'd like readjust, right? So that keeps happening throughout high school. But in college, like, they don't have control over you if you're not there.
And then you're living two lives.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys live two lives, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, it is difficult because, like, going from, like, one extreme to, like, another extreme, like, full independence, you're around, like, mostly, like, you know, like, everyone's kind of American. Or most people are American, right? It's difficult to balance. Like, I would say, like, there's a few pathways that people go into. Let me go into them? Yes. Okay, so, like, one of them is, like...
Get a little bit closer.
Okay. One of them is, like, the extreme, like, oh, I have my freedom. I'm gonna, like, I can do whatever I want. And, like, that leads to a lot of bad choices. A lot of partying, a lot of drinking.
If you're listening, he was pointing to himself.
Yeah. So, that's, like, one path. The other path is, like, kind of staying, like, very traditional still. And, like... That's cool, but, like, I feel like it's not, like, it doesn't fit super into the college persona, like, personality. You know, like, you kind of, like, don't really get the full experience if you do that. I know, like, people who, like, go home every weekend and, like, you know, don't really, like, want, like, close friends outside of their culture and all that.
And that's how the parents usually want it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, like, they're kind of, like, controlling them, like, oh, like, when you talk about your friends, like, they're gonna get happy if like you say, oh, you have like Punjabi friends, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, they put on like, oh, they're probably so nice.
They're
you know,
studying
they're so
for
good.
fun.
They're studying, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Yeah, and then like the other path is kind of like just like confusion of like where they are in society, like in American society, because they're still, and like that a lot of time like turns into like drug abuse, I would say. Like to try
the in
to,
between of not knowing where you
yeah,
fit in.
exactly. Like it would lead to like this anxiety, this depression, and then like the coping mechanism a lot of time is like substances. Like, yeah.
Dang. Yeah, you really, it's two different worlds. That's the most fascinating thing. You know, you live your own life at college and then you come home and then you have a curfew. You can only eat together as a family. If you're with your friends, you're like to them out in the streets. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's like very interesting. The interesting thing to me is also when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Because each, well, depending on how cultured the parents are, they kind of expect you to get with someone within the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
So when one doesn't, do you think like majority of the time, let's say you get with a white girl, do you do that because you love her and you want to see where it goes, but deep down you know that like you're gonna have to part ways, or you do that because like I'm ready to part ways from the culture, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel that's really like dependent, situational, like on the person, on the family, and then also like, where they are in life. Like maybe like say like high school versus college, and then say a career. Like after college, you're more likely to be looking for like a mate, like a partner. So there's that. And college is kind of like in between, you know, like, oh, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, marriage like is really tricky. And even relationships, like growing up, like you couldn't even talk about girls. Like I could never talk about girls with my family.
Yeah.
Like it's just like my mom will give me the evil eye instantly.
Can you now?
Now, so I do have a girlfriend right now, and
shout out Amaya.
And I talk about her to them, but she is also Punjabi, so I think that's why I felt like even comfortable doing that, because I knew like she was Punjabi.
When you met her, did you know she was Punjabi?
I could like when I was in the moment, looking back, I didn't, but like looking back at it, I was like, I could see how. But like I thought she was like Mexican, and she gets that so much.
Yeah, I can see that too, like a mixed, exotic Latina or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Caribbean or something.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of my friends like when I told them they're Indian, she's Indian, they're like, oh, what? I thought she was like Mexican or something. That's a little joke we have. But if she wasn't Punjabi, definitely would not have told my parents. Yeah, it just like doesn't. Like the first question that they asked when I told them I have a girlfriend was, oh, is she Punjabi? So it's kind of like, if she's not, then like I don't think they'd really even want to know. Or at least like I wouldn't want them to know, because it's just going to cause them like this unnecessary like thinking about, oh, my son's going to marry a non-Punjabi and all that.
What do you think their biggest fear is?
The biggest fear I'd say is perception from others. Like that's a big thing about like, because they're all immigrants, right? They all came here to like work and grow, and like a lot of that like that kind of led to like this competitiveness that's like masked in a bunch of things. But it's like they want to look like a good family to others, and like obviously everyone does, but this is like like they change, like the way of thinking like stems from like their like perception of others from others.
Yeah, dang, that's really crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that your generation, like you and your siblings, are going to be the first ones to break away from that?
Yeah, from that specifically?
Like,
or in more general?
I'd say like, so you guys are very mindful of the perception. And I think that we all are in our own way about different things. Like, yeah, mine wouldn't be culture, it would be religion. More so to make sure I'm hitting the mark, and because I align with it, it's just like sometimes I express more than what's proper. Yeah. So for you guys, it's like you're all living in your truth, but there's like a certain perception that you live up to for your parents. Just like yeah, she's Punjabi. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
I can talk to you about it now.
Yeah.
But if she weren't, would you lie or would you not tell them? You know, there's like a perception. But, you know, your siblings, your cousins, you guys have the choice because you are more saturated with the American culture where you can be like, well, I want you to stay within the culture because like that's, you know, we are so unified in our culture.
Yeah.
But if you're not, like, I still want you to be open and talk about it.
Exactly. That's
it's your generation.
Yeah. It is. Because we grew up like from both sides instead of just from one side. We can see like the issues from both, and we can see like the benefits from both. And like the goal is to like maximize the benefits, right? Like,
yes.
Like in the way like you like approach other people, other situations when you have kids, like you said, like find a good, like I'd like to keep the culture alive because culture is like dying. You know, like in a lot of places, especially America, like people come in like, and then as they get generations go down and down, like culture dilutes. So I totally understand that like, they want to keep in the culture, but like forcing anyone to do anything is like not the best move like ever, really. Yeah.
It's weird though, because like it's also though like there's, when it comes to relationships and love, there's certain aspects of predictability that do matter, that are important. And one of them being like, you want to make sure that they're financially in a good place. You know, you want to make sure that they have the same cultural principles, not because it's like, we're better. Maybe that's the case for some cultures, but it's like, because we know how to handle each other. Like, you know how the family dynamics are going to be. You know how, like, to cook that kind of food.
Yeah.
You're right. It's to be preserved. Culture should be preserved. If you marry into the next culture, you either preserve the 25% you have or, like, learn this new culture. Because, like, I think that even white people, they are a culture. Like whether it's Swedish or Norwegian, it's good to hold on to substance that sets you apart and can like maintain certain values. We all need that.
Yeah, it's interesting like how like when two people get married of different cultures, like a lot of time like one of them like ends up taking over like when it comes to the kids, you know?
Yeah.
And like I don't know, like that's a decision that obviously like any couple's entitled to. But it's just a little like upset, like it makes me a little sad. It's like, why does like one culture, like why is only that one gonna be passed down to your generations?
That's true.
It's like both, like you said, every culture has its like uniqueness.
Yeah.
And, like, its benefits, and with that comes its drawbacks. But if you like, you can properly expose your kids to it, and at least like let them choose. You know, like, expose both of them as they grow up, and if they have an affinity for one, then that's their choice.
Yeah. That's like with our family, we have 3 different ethnicities: Mexican, Filipino, and Guamanian. And it seems like we all kind of hype up being Chamorro, being like the Guam pride. Like we have all the clothes, we rep it. Like I rep it a lot more than like my siblings maybe. But now I'm learning how to embrace that Mexican side and like trying to learn more Spanish, listen to Mexican music. You know, like I take pride in it so much more. But then I'm like, shoot, I need to hop into the Filipino culture. Yeah. Because like I'm Filipino, so I need to like, because I think it's so important. I want to adopt it all. I want to be all of them, not just one of them, and forget the other. And and if I were white, I would embrace like, oh, I'm going to Sweden because I'm that kind of like I have that 15%, 10%. That's me, you know. Culture keeps us spicy. Isn't
it so much more exciting that like you're choosing to get more into it versus like your parents like, oh, like you're part this, like learn all this. It's way more exciting, like, oh, like I want to get into this and learn more and all that. I think,
take the good. It's not all the discipline and harsh stuff.
Like I recently found like my own pathway to Sikhism, which is my religion. I don't know why I looked at the camera.
It's my religion, guys.
That's my religion. And like I kind of like rejected it for a lot of my life because, like I said, it was poorly portrayed to me in a way, and it was in a way that like I was like, no, you're taking away from like my freedoms. Like that's my American side. They're taking away from the freedoms I have as a person. Yeah. But like the past few years, I kind of like, so I'm kind of like spiritual. I like to like learn from different religions, and like you said, like there's like things you can learn from everything.
Yeah. Like, can you go into Sikhism and like what that means to you and what it is?
Yeah. So the main like our main symbol of Sikhism is Ikum God, which I actually got tattooed on my hand.
If you zoom in, you'll see the mark.
It's a little bloody right now, but you guys can look it up. It's IK space ONKAR. It means one God. I think it embodies Sikhism pretty well. There's like one supreme like being, or at least like a supreme reality, and Sikhism's really cool because it
closer.
Yeah, sorry. Let me think for a second. It allows for everyone to be right at the same time, which I think is really unique. And when it comes to religions, a lot of religions are like kind of like, this is our religion, if you don't follow it, like you're going to hell or something, right? Sikhism's really cool because it says like, if you are a devout follower like of Islam or Christianity or whichever religion, and you follow it properly, then you can still like find peace and heaven, which I think is really, really cool. And that's why like I'm spiritual, so I didn't really like sign to any religion, but like I've read books from them and like I just take from it and add to my own thing. But Sikhism's cool because like when I like got into it, I was like, whoa, like this is kind of spiritual. It's like a pretty spiritual religion, you know?
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like a warrior religion, which is really cool too. So Sikhs, they have like like the 5 Ks, which are like things like they have on them, and one of them is like a little sword. And
dang, that's cool.
Yeah. So like if you see Sikhs like like in the Khalsa, which is like the segment of Sikhism that is like the warrior like session kind of, like if you're in that, you'll see like the turban.
That would be like church.
Yeah. So Sikhism, it kind of like was like an offspring of like Hinduism plus bad times. Like people were like, oh, we want a like religion that, you know, like says like love and is fair, pretty much.
That's
right?
Sikhism.
Yeah. So like this guy who's like kind of Hindu, he created Sikhism. It's like this little community, and if you entered it, you like lost your last name, which is really cool because like last names were based on your caste, right? Like, whoa. Yeah. So if you were last name, people kind of tell where you were in society.
What did you say your last name was?
Pabla. So Pabla is a family name. My middle name is Singh, which is...
Why is Annie's last name Carr?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask that. I think that's just like a family choice.
No way.
Yeah, I think like certain... So, okay, so let me like get into what I was saying before because it kind of ties in. So when you joined the Khalsa, or, you know, the Sikh community, you lost your last name, right? And then you gained... For men, they gained Singh as their last name, which means lion. And the women gained Kaur, which means princess.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it kind of like made everyone equal. You know, even like the rich people, they became equal to everyone else. So so my middle name is Singh, and my last name is Pabla, and then Annie's last name is Kaur.
What's your mom's last name?
Kaur.
Your dad?
Singh. Yeah.
This is actually really interesting. Yeah. I did not expect that. That's really cool. So
it's like, I guess if it was strictly followed, my last name would be Singh, but it's my middle name. So I guess they just wanted to continue like the family name, like somewhere in my name, you know?
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk elevated consciousness.
Okay.
So literally from the first time I met you, I feel like we got like super deep. Me and Annie, like we warmed up to each other. Like we had our little coffee time, and I just like said some stuff and she could keep up. And we're like, oh, okay, like we could deep talk. But you're already in that zone.
This is our coffee time.
This is the first time having coffee. Yeah, no. You are a very deep thinker. Where do you think that came from? Because, you know, you either go through life, you have a certain experience, or your brain is just wired to be constantly like questioning existence, questioning life experience. So where did that come from for you, and what is your observations?
Okay, I feel like I was always kind of like that, but I didn't embody it because I didn't okay, so like there's like me, like how I am, and there's this image that like I had to like portray, right? And I failed to portray that, so I wasn't comfortable like being confident in my own persona. So I feel like I've always been like that, but I never really like explored it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, like this is like, bad, like it's not good. I need to strive for something else. So I kind of like didn't really like think too much about like the thoughts I had. I kind of like just distracted myself. For me, it was like video games. Like I kind of just stayed in video games. And then once I got to college, like I said, I kind of like went haywire for a bit.
Why?
I got like this bunch of freedom, and I like to have fun. And
so that usually always happens. If you grew up in a strict environment, the first taste of freedom you'll indulge.
Yeah.
Until you're like, all right, I get why there was some walls up.
Yeah, exactly. And then so after like a year of that, I was like, dang, like I'm not like my trajectory is like not going up right now. I'm just kind of like staying still or going down. So then like I reevaluated like life. And I like kind of stopped that for a bit, and I kind of like try to find my new thing that like my new fun, instead of like going out and stuff. What do I like to do? That's when I started like really like getting into like video, like podcasts, YouTube videos, articles, like Reddit, all that, and like learning more about things. And the more I did that, I was like, I would have these like very cool thoughts about the things I read. I was like, dang, like, this is really cool. Like, what if this, like, can tie into this, all that? Yeah. So, I think, like, from there, about, like, 3 years ago, maybe 4, I really started, like, loving to learn things. And I think that's, like, really led me to, like, be the person I am right now.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's super cool. It's crazy. That's, like, when you kind of didn't have to learn forcefully. That's when you finally had the choice to learn. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Things are so different if you choose it versus if someone enforces it on you, just like the culture. If you get the freedom to choose it, there's like this deeper fascination. Yeah, you're like, exactly. You want a little bit more because you do it for you. Yeah. But as a parent, I think it's good to enforce things. Otherwise, like, kids won't usually choose something hard to begin with or different. Yeah,
that's true for most people. I don't know, like, when I always think about like when I have kids, how I'm gonna raise them. Yeah. Cause I don't know, like I'm excited to be a dad and like impart what I know to my kid. So like I really want them to like I want to raise them in a way that they seek out like challenges to find interesting. Yeah. I haven't thought about how to do that really yet, but it's probably like exposure to many things. Gotta play the Mozart, when they're in the baby, in the womb and all that. Gotta do everything you can,
That stuff does help, though, I've heard.
Does it? Yeah. I haven't looked too much into it.
Or like how you talk to the belly,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So
podcasts. Yeah. Put the headphones on her belly.
The Elevate Today podcast.
Yes. Yes, that means I'd keep it clean. That's super cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What's one of the books that elevated your consciousness?
Okay, so like I'm gonna hate on self-help books real quick. Not hate, but like I'm giving my opinion on it. So I was super into them at the start of like say like 3-4 years ago, and then they just got so like they all kind of like said similar things in different ways. Yeah. And it was just like, okay, look, I already get it. It's a lot of repeating things because it's like they're trying to give general advice for everybody, right? And that's hard when you're trying to be specific because they're trying to be specific but also general. And it's just like, it's hard to apply it to real life. Like, that's why philosophy is really cool because like you can have a statement of philosophy that's super general and you can like try to put in like your own life into it and get something out of it, right?
That's so true.
Yeah, so one of the books that did that for me was The Alchemist. I recommend this book to a lot of my friends. It's really good. I got really bored of the just straight information dumping into books. So I've always been like a reader of like fiction. So I like magic and all that.
1984?
Yeah, that one's a good book too. I recommend that one. Those books are really good to like give you a to give you a different perspective of history. Like, we are where we are because of like the past. Yes. And the past could have gone different. One thing could have gone different, and we could be in a world like 1984. So
that's my mission. To prevent 1984 from happening.
Yeah.
We are so freaking close because of the fact that we can't think of our own thoughts. We can't ask questions. We're not aware because we're so distracted, and there's like so many things coming at us, and we're told this is truth. If you think this way, no one's gonna like you. If you say this, you're gonna get canceled. But that's like something I think you and I understand. Are just like, I'm gonna question what I want to question. I'm gonna say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Like this is my journey of understanding and learning. But like I do think we're pretty close to 1984 days.
Yeah.
Especially with like we can say love, we can express, but what are the things we can't express? Those are the things I like to talk about.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, we are definitely gearing towards it. But also I see like this like human raising of consciousness as well recently. Maybe it's always kind of been there, but now I've like been aware of it. Like we were talking earlier about music. I think that's a really big factor because many people listen to music, and like say for hip hop specifically, like a decade ago, maybe, and like more, maybe even like 5 years ago, a lot of it was about like sex, drugs, and like women, right? And now it's like really about like self-love, compassion, like improving yourself and all that. I think that's a really like powerful shift that happened, because I don't know, like a lot of people listen to music and like what you hear is like that's what kind of like can go into your mind, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good shift, and like I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of the problems in the world, and yeah, that's a good thing. But it's just hard because like to have like a mass group like enact change is difficult. It's really like individuals are gonna get aware of it, and those individuals need to get into positions of power. But that's what's difficult, because once you get into power, like you could become trapped in it and become like the people who you're trying to get rid of. And I think that's a really like common thing that happens.
Yeah, and often the one that knows better wants to stay away from the harm in the world, or not stay away from the harm, but they know the system is so corrupt that they're like, I'm gonna speak my truth to my people, my own little circle, my own little tribe, because it like sometimes having authority is you're right, you get lost in the power, you get lost in the game, and the how you're all of a sudden seeking people's approval when you're no longer doing what you came there to do, but trying to get majority to like you. And majority it's always difficult to function with that.
It is. It's like certain people like find their way to do that. But it is really difficult. And once you get bigger and bigger, you enter into the realm of like the institutions, and like you have to go through that stuff to like, you know, make it out on top, right?
Yeah.
And like a lot of people don't like make it out, and it sucks.
That's so true. And that's why when I think about like people that are more like known figures of society, you may know who I'm talking about without saying their name, like I support them for reasons of, oh, I like the values and morals that they're preaching, even though they have these darker sides to them, because we do have good and bad in us, but sometimes the bad is what gives someone fame, is what gives them the ability to be heard. Like even just the fact that like the more controversial you are, the more people can have like a finger pointed at you because they disagree. That's more publicity. So it's like like there's two sides to it, where in order to make it big, you have to do a little bit of bad to let good be seen. And that's just this crazy world we live in, and that's why it's like, stay away from power unless you know what you're getting yourself into. Like go in with the mission and do that, because other ugly stuff is gonna come with it.
100%. And add on to that, like the idolization of like figures, like celebrities, is like really fascinating to me. Like you said, like there's like the controversial characters, and then there's like, for most of them, like it's like this like image of goodness, and if they break away from that for like even a little bit, like they kind of just get like demolished, you know, because you're supposed to be this figure that people look up to, and like you're supposed to like embody certain characteristics and like show that, portray them. But if you don't, like you just get blasted. It's crazy. Like, they're still human, like, you know, like come on.
Yeah, they really like think that they're just these poets all the time that are living this perfect life. Like the more perfect they are, the less I like them. the more predictable, the more and that's often the more controlled. Like these well-loved celebrities, I'm like,
that's not who they are.
They can't turn on a microphone and speak their mind because their voice is paid for. Yeah, they have a manager that says you can't say this unless I let you. I own your name. Britney Spears, for example. Like an example of this is like with Kanye West. As soon as people started hating him, I was just like, what's going on in this guy's head? Yeah. And then all of a sudden he has so much to say, and I find so much fascination in him because like if everyone hates him, that means he's doing something different. That means he owns his voice again. Yeah. Because they want people to hate the people that stray away from their predicted expression. It's very interesting to me.
Something interesting I read about Kanye is that I guess his name is now Ye. Okay, sorry. Is that like there's a video of him like explaining how he like purposely did everything he did, like he purposely like said the things he did on Twitter, on media, to arouse like this like controversy, and that led like the labels he was stuck to drop him, and he was saying like never has anyone like calculated to the point where all the things that he's tied to dropped on their own. And I was like, like you're saying, he now is free. Like he had certain contracts with companies that like were limiting him in expressing himself or doing what he wants. And he did this little controversy campaign, and it worked. They all dropped him, and he got out of contracts that he wasn't able to get out of. Yeah, I think that's so smart. That's so
crazy. Cool. Yeah, and like predictable perspective is how dare he say that? How dare he do this? But what is he really doing? No one's that stupid to lose like $1 million for expressing oneself. He warned people. Yeah, he was like, I'm gonna say something tomorrow. Yeah. I was listening to Dave Chappelle, who was like telling the story of what happened with Kanye, and he just did it and lost his some sort of deal. But there's nothing greater than being a free soul. Yeah, a free soul. Nothing related to money, nothing related to power, but like your soul to be expressed. And people die without you, like with your soul being trapped inside of you.
Like kids are like free souls. That's why kids really are like the treasure of life. Yes. Right? And as they grow up, like little pieces of it get, taken, which is like normal, I'd say, because like, to be into a society, you have to give up like your individualism, like for at least a little part of it. But like it just takes all of it one by one. You have school, and then you have like work, and you have like responsibilities like family and whatnot. But by then your like soul's so taken that like you're not even free enough to like raise your children how you really want them to, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's so sad. Yeah, and it's like everyone faces this reality shift where you're exposed to corruption, but the hardest thing about that is the fact that like at what age? Yeah. At what age does your eyes get open to the brokenness of the world? Because usually you see it and you don't know that it's so bad, maybe you see, you're just like, okay, or you look at it and you're like, that doesn't seem right, but then eventually it's wrong. Yeah. And that's the moment where like, I guess maybe a child first faced an opportunity, experienced trauma, or they just realize, oh, this is not fun. This game isn't safe. This life isn't just all playful. That's why like, a thing a parent can do is really shelter their kids till they're old enough, because like that's such a rare window of time where you see life in this world as like a peaceful place that it can be, but it's not. Yeah. That's why awareness is the only way you can actually be free, is to know the corruption, but like drop your shoulders and know like, since I know that it's corruption, I am somewhat free. I'm not in it. I'm not part of it. I don't want to be consumed by it. Yeah, I know it's there, therefore I'm free.
I disagree with you a little bit at the like sheltering when they're growing up. I feel like they shouldn't be sheltered, because like,
define sheltered. Define sheltered
as in like prevention from like experiences that aren't what the parents want. Like, so for me, like we were sheltered. And then I kind of like, when I went to college, that's kind of when I, was made aware of things that I kind of experienced, but wasn't fully in it to be able to like take it in. But like, I feel like sheltering, it limits like your it limits your worldview, and then when something bad does happen, you're not prepared for it. So I feel like being not sheltered but having like the freedom really allows you, because like the world isn't like a peaceful place. You can learn that at some point. And if you learn it young, you're more able to adjust to that. Like you're more able to you have more time to filter it out.
Yeah.
And like kind of keep your own persona, because as a kid it's kind of like you don't have like these as much ideas in your head from society as like a teenager does, right?
Yeah.
So something like that happens to a teenager, they kind of have like certain like a few responses that they like kind of like can pick from. But a kid is kind of like, oh, like that's scary, that's tough, and then kind of continue being a kid. Like a lot of kids like don't get into like this existential thing like when they're young, right?
True.
So it's kind of like if they're exposed to it and they know it, but they continue living their way, and like they continue living that helps them like keep living their own way as they grow up, while still knowing that like the world isn't like this like heaven, you know.
That's true. But see, I feel like as soon as you know it's not a heaven, you kind of like start to live differently. Like I grew up homeschooled. There's no more sheltered you get than me. My friends were my cousins and my sister and my aunties, and it was a really peaceful, really playful. But I like when I was a kid, I was in 8th grade, like younger than 8th grade, before high school. I really believed in love. I super believed in love, and I still do. But like I was listening to Frank Sinatra, all these old-fashioned stories. I just got lost in love movies. I would cry when I'd watch them. And then you go to high school and you realize like things are different, and you have a crush on someone, and then you get a boyfriend, and then you just thought it was just going to be this beautiful thing, and it's not. And then you grow cold.
Yeah. But
you're right, because what if I just knew that people don't stay together, people cheat, but maybe one day you'll find your person and it'll be special, because that's just like...
Exactly. Like, a lot of people I feel like want like the angle without going through the steps. I really feel like there's like, you should experience heartbreak. You should experience negative things. Because then if you only experience the good, then you don't really know how good the good is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need the bad to compare it to the good. And like, yeah, like say with the heartbreak, like, yeah, like you break up, it's like, oh, he just wasn't the one. You know, like I still have time in my life to like find more people, and I just have to trust that I'll find them.
Yeah.
So that's why like that's why having this awareness of like the dynamics and like the little plays of life just helps you. Like a lot of people get like lost in the sauce.
Okay.
So they get lost in like certain things that happen to them, or certain things like, yeah, they get lost in certain things, and they kind of like keep spiraling down from the same thing to more and more. But like you can get out of it. I know it's like there's a lot of factors to it, but like staying stuck in one moment of your life, like I don't know, you still have your whole life. Like things can turn around if you want them to. A lot of people don't want them to though. A lot of people find comfort in their own demise, honestly, because it forces them. Sorry, it makes them not have to do anything about it.
Yeah, you know, that's so true.
Which is difficult. It's difficult to do the digging. And you know, because once you get out of it, you're like, oh, like, who am I now? I guess it kind of goes down to like this identity thing. Like in America, like people really want to have an identity, especially an identity that other people have too. And I think like that has definitely led to like people kind of staying stuck in certain things versus like wanting to get out, because I have people like they have this identity and the people around them like that, and they all kind of just keep reinforcing each other and keeping each other in the identity instead of like being like, oh, like let's get out of this, like, and like no one can really solve anything for you because only you know your own thoughts about certain things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I think anything that can identify you is something you shouldn't let identify you.
Exactly.
Like even the good things, and people even find peace with identifying by the bad things.
Yeah.
But like if you're an amazing athlete, a taekwondo athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden you hurt your ankle and you can't do competitions anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you have an identity crisis. You
Yeah.
were never supposed to find your identity so much in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more you find your identity in something, the
Mm-hmm.
more it has control over you, and the more you
Yeah.
can lose yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
we should be using words like you and I, like
Mm-hmm.
you are a soul, you are a spirit, you
Yeah.
are an infinite being meant to express and experience. This sport was a fun experience,
Yeah.
and I'm glad it took this whole season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I
100%.
am an active being, you know,
Yeah.
because getting into different things, I've realized like certain things have identified me,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want it to be who I am, not because
Yeah.
it's not a good thing, but because it's just not how we're supposed to live.
It is why you are, like, you don't need to say like be identified by something, because like, it's the reason why you are you. You know, it's a part of it at least.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of giving it more power.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking away like your own soul,
Yeah.
like power, and putting it into like this one tool that you came across.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Because we're supposed to change and evolve too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we need to do things that welcome change, that welcome I'm not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't matter. It's not a bad thing. We were meant to change. When people say like always be yourself.
Yeah.
Who is yourself?
Yeah.
Because once you know, tell me,
Yeah.
and I will be that. Because, like,
I mean, what they're saying is true, but it's like to figure out yourself is
Yes,
the challenge.
yes.
Like, you know.
do you think that you and I process things like others?
Um.
Because if Annie were here,
Mhm.
she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like you guys lost me like 30 minutes ago."
Yeah, but it's like, so like certain people like are kind of like born with this certain type of like mindset.
Spiral thinking,
Yeah.
deep thinking,
It's like anxiety, right? But then like
anxiety.
it is literally just anxiety.
It's just
But like it plays out in different ways. Some people, they have anxiety about existential things, which is kind of more like us. Some people have anxiety about how they look and all that. So it can like stem out into multiple things. But I feel like a lot of it, you can like, actually I don't know. This is interesting. Do you think it's more like learned? It's a learned thing, or more of kind of like how you were born, or at least raised, I guess. Well, not even raised. Like I don't think.
I think it's a born thing.
Born?
Because we both got 3 siblings,
Mhm.
and we all think very differently, you know.
Yeah.
And I think certain experiences could cause us to be more, to think a certain way, to be predictable. But like your parents, they're not super deep thinkers, right?
Mm-mm.
Or at least expressors.
Yeah.
You can
I
express
think
what you think.
Expressing is the main thing.
Yeah, like if I don't let out what's going on in my head, I
Mhm.
feel so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like
Yeah.
I'll talk to a stranger, I'll talk to anyone just to like
Yeah.
think these things out and see if I'm the only one thinking like this, if I'm
Mhm.
like actually crazy, or if like I have to let it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that goes back to like there's going to be different roles in the world and society, just like Divergent.
Mhm.
There's going to be the people that are very simple. They just do the task and contribute to society in a positive way, and that's it. There's people that are in their head and feel like obligated to solve the world's problems through thinking it out and expressing it. And like there's just this urgency behind their thinking. And I've met people like that, and that's how you and I are. Like our thoughts are like, what if, like, but most
Yeah.
people. And then there's others where like they're just so zoned in on their own thing, where they can like just have peace with the world. But I feel like I'll never have a certain kind of peace because I will never stop analyzing.
Yeah. And to do that, you have to kind of like completely dissociate yourself from society and like live this kind of like lifestyle that's really like in tune with like Earth, you know, with like nature, to like get away. Because then like you can analyze things like in nature, but it's more, I don't know, I feel like it's not as complicated. There's no nuance really. It's like this is how it is, you know. And like that's why like I'm like I definitely want to at some point in my life like go like out into nature. It'd be cool. Like I'd want to like be under like learn from a shaman for like a year or two. Like I want to do that. Like I want to go have these experiences, like go in a dark cave and like meditate. Like that's one of the things I'm gonna do.
Do you know
like,
who Aubrey Marcus is?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, yeah. I feel like you'd so go to one of his things because I did a podcast with someone who did who like was part of his community, fit for service community or something, and they did a whole experience together. It was like 2 weeks long or something. You'd so fit in
Dude,
and belong with them.
I looked into his stuff. I was like, you know what? Not yet. I need to be in society for a bit longer before I start doing that stuff.
Before you never come back. Yeah, society's ways of do's and don'ts. And it's funny because once you see that there's such a predictable structure in with relationships, with finances, with socializing, like, okay, I will play by the rules of society. It's almost like an act, and then you get out of it, whether it's through an experience or going to nature or finding other like-minded individuals. And it's like you can get lost in it, but it's like 100%. Know the rules, know your relational dynamic with the people that you need to, have relationships with, know how to socialize, have a proper status, have balance. Proper finances. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you'd rather like be in a beach just alone dancing all weird. Yeah,
100%. Like, but if you truly want to have an impact on the world, you kind of have to like learn to balance both things. Yeah. Because like you have to like it is what it is. Like our society is what it is. You can try to change it, but to change it, you have to like go through it. And if you like reject that, then it's kind of like you're not gonna make change really. Yeah.
That's why I like having a podcast, because I could learn from people in a proper way of playing by society's rules. Yeah. I mean, I just want to get through the rules so I can stay away from them. Yeah. And be free.
Yeah, exactly. Escape more wherever you are.
Yeah, and play by away from the rules with my little family, with my little tribe, where we just like don't follow the systematic thinking, predictability, and just be our own little tribe.
100%. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, we're at a good mark, and the noise out there, I really hope it doesn't catch on the podcast. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share, a message to the listeners that could learn from you and the things you've learned the past years of elevated consciousness? Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid to learn new things, to have experiences, to take steps in something you want to do. Like, everything really is, like, treat everything as a step versus a end goal, Ooh. Like, that's something I've been working on. Like, I have these big things I want to do, and then I would like start like working towards it, and then I'd like will give up. This is too impossible. I think something that you're really good at is like putting out steps into doing what you want. And that could be with anything. Like, say you want a relationship, like take steps and do like things that you think would help that happen. Like hygiene, working out, and all that. If you want to start a job, like take steps like into learning before you even like start putting yourself out there, so you can be more prepared. Like, everything really is about being prepared for when the opportunity comes to you. Yeah. Because there's opportunities everywhere, and one skill was being aware of the opportunities when they present themselves. Yes. But also not present themselves for you to go out and grab it, because it's in your like range of vision. It's in the range, like your field. So like always be aware and looking out for opportunities, I would say. Because I would like, if you're so like stuck in your own like life, you're gonna miss the things that are happening around you. And yeah, just be open-minded, because the world is a lot more complicated than anyone can really comprehend. So that's like so true. Yeah, so why is like your image of the world right? Like, it's not. You can only try to get closer and closer to this ideal that we'll never reach, but you just gotta get as close as you can and help other people get closer. That's really like the meaning of life, I would say. Damn. And like reach like this like state. Like, I think of like heaven and hell as like mind states. Like, if you're trapped in like certain ways of negative ways of thinking, say depression, all that, like you're in hell. Like, you're on hell in earth. Like earth. Dang. And then if you're like loving, compassionate, then like you're on heaven on earth. Like, I think heaven, like if it was a paradise, I would say like, then like what's the point of like existing? There's no challenges. You have what you want. Everything's bad. You're like, dang, this sucks. Like, needs to be this neutral needs to be this neutral zone where good and bad can happen. Yeah. And like I said earlier, like good is not just good. Good is like good defeating bad or evil, right? That's how you get like.
Dang.
Yeah.
That was sick. That was sick. Well, thank you so much for coming in. You're always more than welcome to come back as you learn things and want to share them. If you believe it could help the people, which I always feel like you have like something on your heart that people could learn from, especially when it comes to those people that live in their minds. You have a good understanding of the ways we think and really especially speaking into people that have existential crises, finding that peace. So
thank you for
coming on. No, yeah, for real, you're coming back on. All right, thanks guys for listening. Stay elevating. Have a beautiful, lovely day.